Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is April the 12th, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Still sick or still illin', but I had a I feel like I slept pretty well, or did I? I can't. No, I didn't. I didn't. I'm actually having the full thought now. I woke up at 4, and I was kind of bummed about that. I went to bed around midnight, my usual time, and I was like, "You gotta be kidding!" Like, I really could have used a couple hours of sleep. I gotta go do laundry in the morning. Like, come on. Um, but then, needless to say, I think around 6 o'clock or so, I started fading, and I was like, yeah, maybe I'll sleep for like, an hour, and it'll be perfect, and I'll get up and do laundry right on time, quick as you like. And then I woke up at like 9. I was like, okay, I think it was like 9:30, something like that. No, maybe it was closer to 9. I can't remember. Anyway, so I wake up. I'm a little bit behind on my day already. Still sick. But overall, we're getting better. We're ticking up. So that's good. We'll take that. So we go, we do our laundry, feel a little bit better, after laundry, then we go do the gym. Gym was really cool. I had another sweet moment where, I'm doing my thing. I'm working out. I got my headphones in as I always do, and someone kind of taps or motions at me, and I was like, oh, I wonder what do they want? And I take a headphone out, and they said, hey, I just wanted to let you know I've been seeing, I've been seeing you around, and he gets to the point. He's like, how much weight have you lost? And I was like, oh, like 60 pounds. And he goes, that's awesome. Like, you definitely, like, it shows, you look great. And I was like, damn, thank you. Cause it's just always nice, when somebody notices. And I felt bad, cause I was like, too, like dumbstruck by the moment, and then also I'm still a little sick, so I didn't want to over communicate or anything like that. But I'm like, damn, I should have asked that. I should ask that person's name. I never do that. I'm always like too shy. So that's something I want to work on, is just being like, taking that moment, like, of like a really nice compliment, and being like, hey, let me get to know this person. You know what I mean? I feel like in my 30s at some point, maybe I've lost my manners or something. I don't know, but I was kicking myself for not being like, damn, I should ask that guy's name. Dude seemed pretty cool. So maybe I'll do that in the future, hopefully. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, gym went well. I don't want to say I cut it shorter, because it was still a 2 hour session, but I cut it down a little bit. Most likely I'm gonna be doing another one, but I'll keep you posted on that come next episode tonight. But we'll see how it goes. But yeah, overall, solid day so far. We made it back home. I did get some new beer, which I guess I can kind of showcase real quick. We got this Mad Tree Seeing Colors Double Juicy IPA, 9.5 APV. So we like that. We love that. Um, it has like I mean, it's an IPA, so it tastes like an armpit, but it does have like this like kind of tangy orange aftertaste. So I'm feeling that. I like that. So that's what we're drinking today for the episode. Hashtag not sponsored. But yeah, let's go ahead and do our startup, and we will get into some news. Oh yeah. Ooh. Ooh, let me get my composure. Oh. Ooh. Ooh wait. Okay. From CNN, U.S. Iran negotiators hold constructive nuclear talks. Will meet again next week. Whew. Delegations from Iran and the United States will meet again next week after wrapping up constructive nuclear talks that included the first direct contact between a Trump administration between a Trump administration and Iranian official, according to Iran's state news agency. The talks, held in the Gulf Arab nation of Oman and mediated by its foreign minister Badir al-Busadi, were largely indirect, with an Omani minister relaying messages between the two delegations that were seated in separate rooms. Iranian media reported. The American side was represented by the Trump administration's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff. Iranian and Omani officials said. The meetings were held in a constructive atmosphere based on mutual respect. Iran's state-run IRNA news agency said. After more than 2.5 hours of indirect negotiations, the heads of the Iranian and American delegations spoke for a few minutes in the presence of the Omani foreign minister as they left the talks, the agency said. So apparently that was like a very key moment. And then also on the Iranian side, they don't really get to the full name until like later, but Abbas Araghchi is, I believe, like the foreign minister involved in the talks on the Iranian side. But essentially, it's kind of like how they described. I think they're like something in like a hotel situation, and you know, you have one camp in one room, one camp in the other, and then you have like Omani officials going back and forth relaying information. It's like, okay, well, what's your counter to that? What do you feel about that? Blah, 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 blah. But having, I guess, that last few minute powwow at the end is very key. It's very crucial. That was something that Trump was like saying, yeah, I want to have direct talks about this. None of this indirect stuff. Well, meanwhile, Iran is like, we'll see. We're really not trying to do that, but we'll see. The high-stakes talks to reach a new nuclear deal began on Saturday, foreshadowed by President Trump's threat of military strikes as a consequence of failure and Tehran's warning any attack on it would drag the U.S. into a broader Middle Eastern conflict. Iran was seeking an initial understanding with the U.S. that could lead to a negotiation process, Araghchi said upon arriving in the Omani capital of Muscat. Al-Busadi said on X that Iran and the U.S. will begin a process aimed at reaching a fair and binding agreement following the meeting. President Donald Trump has given Tehran a 2-month deadline to accept a deal that would lead to Iran shrinking its nuclear footprint or eliminating its program altogether. I want them not to have a nuclear weapon. I want Iran to be a wonderful, great, happy country, but they can't have a nuclear weapon, Trump said aboard Air Force One on his way to Florida Friday night. So, I mean, yeah, this has been an ongoing thing. I think they initially had an agreement back in 2015 with the Obama administration. I think in 2018, Trump said, fuck that. This is not right. This isn't good. And he withdrew from the conversation that like they were working towards. So I guess maybe not had a full agreement. They were in the room having talks, I guess, in 2015. I don't know, whatever. But essentially shit broke down when Trump came in. And then old Joe Biden, he really didn't focus too much on it. I mean, he had heavy rhetoric for Iran, but he really didn't get into the room. Okay, no, in 2015, there was a deal brokered by the Obama administration, which is meant to curb Iran's nuclear program. Trump withdrew from the deal in 2018, calling it a disastrous agreement that gave money to a regime that sponsored terrorism. So essentially, like, we're rewarding them for being bad guys. But it's like, dude, you guys are trying to say, hey, we can't have a nuclear weapon to defend ourselves. You guys have plenty of nuclear weapons. Israel has more or less bragged about having nuclear weapons, even though they're like, we don't. But we will blow you up. Like, so it's like, why are you guys on our necks? But they're on everybody's necks. That's why I'm sure I've had this conversation before at some point on the pod. If you have a nuke, you should keep it. I think Ukraine would not be in the situation had they kept their nuke way back when. But they gave it up in the name of peace. But guess what? There's still no peace. And now you don't have a nuke. And, now you got to deal with Russia. And you're giving up more and more and more land. So, maybe keep it if you can get it. And if you can make one, I think you should make one. Like, I know, hot take. I know. I can't believe it. Isaiah, you're so bad. Ooh, boo, tomato me. But look. It just makes sense in these trying times, dude. Like, at the end of the day, you don't want to get pushed around. You don't want to get bullied around. So if at least you say, hey, I got the fucking big one, Do you really want to fuck with me like this? Maybe you don't. That's the biggest reason why we've been looking at Russia for years on this whole Ukraine Russia shit. So anyway, I don't know. That's my 2 cents on having a fucking nuke. I mean, hopefully these talks go well. I know for Iran, essentially they are using these conversations as a leverage. It's like, you don't want us to have this, fine. Well, give us a reason not to continue making one. And I mean, essentially between the US and Israel, and I mean, there's other countries that have opinions on this too. No, they're like, no, we don't want you to have it, period. And even Israel was surprised. Like Netanyahu was like, wait, you guys are really serious about these talks? Like, for real, for real? And they're like, we might just do a strike anyway. Um, but that being said, I mean, hopefully these talks continue. Hopefully they're fruitful. I mean, I've heard talks that like potentially Iran could have a nuke, I think within like weeks or months, but that's like one nuclear weapon that you have. It doesn't mean that you actually have the full capacity to launch it. That could take anywhere from like a year or more, and that's uninterrupted. Like I used to kind of think and have this like theory that, once again, I've probably wildly speculated that like maybe they already had one, but it's like no, they don't. Like at the end of the day, there's enough surveillance to kind of be like, no, we have eyes on them at all times on this shit, on whether they could make it or have one. They don't. So most likely they don't, and we're gonna make sure that they don't ever get one. Apparently, that's the play, that's the ploy. Because we got to keep things peaceful, even though we've got multiple conflicts going around in countries and shit. But hey, hold on, let me see if I can get to that date. Hopefully I haven't skipped it. Hopefully I'm not in the weeds here. I think it's like a week or two. So yeah, it's still supposed to be in April. I think we actually are just gonna just skip ahead because I don't want to. Yeah, I passed it. Oopsie. These things happen. I'm only human. But yeah. April 19th. Boom. We found it. Whew, saved. So yeah, like a week or so from now. Anyway, I want to do a quick update on the tariffs. And I'm literally just gonna read this live title ticker thing. ABC News. Trump tariffs live updates. Phones, computers, chips exempt from new tariffs. I think that I heard, because it's not mentioned in this article, they just kind of go down the line on other shit. But that China is also involved in this exemption. But once again, this is only supposed to hold for 90 days. The Trump administration expects to get a bunch of deals done in this time. They expect the rest of the world to come groveling and make these ridiculous backbreaking deals in the name of like making these tariffs go down or potentially go away for them. So we'll see. They also assume that China is going to bend the knee. China has also, they've maxed out theirs at like 145, I think. And they're like, hey, this is as high, or I know Trump's tariffs at 145. Theirs might not be as high, but it's comparable or whatever. And they said, we're not going to raise ours any higher. We're done. Because they, from what I've also heard from economists or whatever, at this point, the tariff level, like the percentage is so fucking high. Doing any more is just like, you're just doing Google like numbers. It doesn't matter. Like it's not profitable for either country to deal with it with each other right now. So like trade negotiations and shit or whatever, trade is just kind of dead right here in this way. You're gonna have to like find in runs around it, which are just gonna spend more and more money. But this is where we're at right now with the tariffs. I mean, it's subject to change. We'll see how these deals that the Trump administration plans on having are going to go, if they go as well as they hope. If China does actually decide to pick up the phone and call, but it looks like they're not. It looks like they are very like staunch about being like, no, this is your fault. You want to put it on us? Fine. Okay, we can take it. We'll take it. We're not yielding. So they're on their not backing down shit. I don't know what to tell you. And if we're not backing down and they're not backing down, then everyone loses here. We all lose. Like that's the thing that fucking sucks so much about this. Like I really hope that like Trump finds a way to just kind of eat his own ass on this and just be like, I fucked up. Let's fix this. Let's lower. And in some ways, that's what we're doing here with like the whole exemption part already kind of coming in. We've seen it before with the automation shit with cars or whatever. So, I mean, we'll see. I'm already talking way too long about tariffs than I expected, and I'm sorry about that. But I mean, this is where we're at. This is the news. Like, Trump takes up so much fucking space. Like, he just does so much stupid shit all the time. He's so kinetic. He's so frenetic, and it makes it hard to like talk about anything else. It's like his aura is ridiculously annoying. Anyway, from The Guardian. FBI Director Kash Patel removed as Director of Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. All right, let me take a quick water break, actually. I didn't work myself up. Oh, gotta move some mucus. Sorry. I'm sure that was actually not pleasant in your ear. I sometimes forget that I get way too cavalier. And, I don't have an editor. I don't edit. So you're going to get it all raw, unfiltered. And, but I am aware of that. I'm sure on the other end that didn't sound good. But, anyway. The Trump administration has replaced the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, as the interim head of Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and installed Dan Driscoll, Secretary of the Army, in his place, according to two people familiar with the matter. The abrupt change, which was announced to senior ATF officials on Wednesday morning, for the first time placed control of the embattled agency responsible for enforcing the nation's gun laws to the Defense Department. Patel has been running the FBI and the ATF for months, but it had proved to be overly burdensome, and Driscoll was selected to replace Patel as the interim head, as he was one of the few Senate-confirmed appointees available, one of the people said. So some of the headlines I was reading, it was like, Patel ghosts ATF position. And I was like, wait, what? How do you ghost that fucking position? Like, what do you mean? But, like, I do understand the idea of, like, I mean, I could give, Kashyap Patel so much fucking shit, for the rest of this episode. It's not worth the time. But, like, it is two fucking departments. And I guess the grand goal for the Trump administration was to kind of pull, like, the like, almost like the fantasy Kennedy with the CIA of, like, he wanted to kind of dissolve this thing. Like, at least there was talks that he wanted to. Well, Trump wanted to kind of do something like that with the ATF. And he's like, well, I got my man Kash Patel. He's gonna he's gonna pull the Spider-Man. He's gonna have he's gonna hold this whole shit. Actually, there might be a better fucking analogy there. But he's gonna hold this whole thing down for me. And he's gonna have the ATF, he's gonna have the FBI, and he's gonna manage both. But it seems like that was too much for the guy, and they had to get this Driscoll guy in at least as an interim. So I don't know what the future of the ATF is going to be. If I'm being honest, I'm not a fan of the ATF. Like, of all the things that I would have loved for Trump to immediately come through and just fucking downsize and do, like, potential layoffs. Not that I'm rooting for layoffs ever, whatever. But, like, yeah, the ATF, I mean, that shit could get minimized a little bit. Like, take a little off the top. But, hey, let them fight, I guess. Let them sort it out, whatever. We'll see how this goes. I'm sure, because at the end of the day, the state, the nation state or whatever, the government will still have the power, like, to do all the enforcement they want to do, however they want to do it. In this situation, for the Trump administration, they want to minimize, like, any kind of liberal Biden era shit, like, for firearms and stuff like that. They want to try to make that as freed up as possible. They know that makes their base very happy, and it's something that they just want to do. So, makes sense there. Whew. Okay, that is enough about Trump and about the U.S. and government and all that blah, blah, rah, rah. Let's talk about something nice. Let's talk about something pleasant. Let's talk about some tortoises making some babies. Anyway, let's take our last break and we'll close it out. I can't help it. Whew. I will say doing this it is one of those things where I like being a podcaster as part of the reason why I do what I do, but it gives me that appreciation for any of the podcasts that I do listen to that sound so clean and pristine and like, because it's like these guys have to get sick. These guys have to like, da 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 rah rah rah. And usually like okay, they maybe only do 1 or 2 episodes and they have like an editor or whatever. But still, to be on it for maybe as long as they do, like how does Dan Carlin do that? Like he talks for hours. Like how does he like he's got to have a cold, he's got to sneeze, he's got to fart, like he's got to have the belly. Oh, I love when I hear a belly rumble on a podcast. That's like my favorite because that's one of those little things that it's just so hard to control, and I love hearing a little imperfection. I love seeing and hearing that kind of thing. I don't know why, that's part of my little nature. Ooh. I also realize, my dear listeners, that I almost like, even though I've been going out technically every day, despite being sick, I have this like cooped up mentality. Maybe I already mentioned this. I don't know. But, I find myself wanting to talk a lot in these moments, or like whenever I have like a friend in front of me, I want to talk. So, except when someone new comes in and I freeze up. I don't know, whatever. I will say I talked a little bit. I made it a conversation. I didn't do too bad. I'm painting myself in a bad light. Ooh. Ooh. All right. From the Associated Press, Galapagos tortoises at Philadelphia Zoo become first time parents at nearly 100. Whew. I wish I was at virile at 100. Um, well, this is at Philadelphia. Um, a pair of critically endangered, nearly 100-year-old Galapagos tortoises at the Philadelphia Zoo have become first time parents. Congratulations. In an announcement Friday, the zoo said it is overjoyed at the arrivals of the 4 hatchlings, a first in its more than 150-year history. The babies are the offspring of female mommy and male abrazo. I'm sure I'm messing that name up, but whatever. The zoo's 2 oldest residents. The quartet is being kept behind the scenes inside the reptile and amphibian house for now, eating and growing appropriately, the zoo said. They weigh between 70 and 80 grams, about the weight of a chicken egg. The first egg hatched on February 27th, and more and more that still could hatch are being monitored by the zoo's animal care team. This is a significant milestone in the history of Philadelphia Zoo, and we couldn't be more excited to share this news with our city, region, and the world. President and CEO Joel Magerman said in a statement. Mommy arrived at the zoo in 1932. What a rhyme, by the way. Meaning anyone who has visited the zoo for the last 92 years has likely seen her, she said. Philadelphia Zoo's vision is that those hatchlings will be a part of a thriving population of Galapagos tortoises on our healthy planet 100 years from now. Mommy is considered one of the most genetically valuable Galapagos tortoises in the Association of Zoos and Aquariums Species Survival Plan. She's also the oldest first-time mom of the Western Santa Cruz Galapagos species. The last clutch of such tortoises to hatch at an AZA-accredited zoo was in 2019 at Riverbanks Zoo and Garden in Columbia, South Carolina. The San Diego Zoo, Zoo Miami, and Honolulu Zoo also have breeding pairs. The zoo plans a public debut of the hatchlings on April 23rd, as well as a naming contest. So that's pretty cool. We love a little animal news. And these are current animals, not like old past animals that we just made up. But not like I said, I like those animals too. Anyway, that's going to be the episode for today. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, isaiahnews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow on TikTok and Spotify and Apple for podcasters or for podcasts, whatever it is. And leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.